Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Locker Room. You know, one of our goals when we began doing this podcast was to give you a little bit of a look behind the curtain. We're going to go deeper into Sunday's sermons, but we also want to talk about what goes on here at Hillcrest and give you a chance to get to know some of our pastors pretty well. So I'm excited today to have you welcome in someone we haven't met here on the podcast before. Please give a big Locker Room welcome to Pastor Dan Davis.
Jimmy,
this is where the applause thunder
What's
around
up?
The room. Hey.
Yeah.
You can hear it?
I do hear it.
That's
I
good.
do hear it in my heart.
Hey, man, thanks for coming in.
Dude, it's awesome to be here.
So for a lot of you that maybe don't know Dan or don't recognize Dan, Dan is our campus pastor at our Spanish Trail location.
That's right.
But for some Hillcresters who have been around for a while, you were actually at our 9 Mile location before that. So tell us a little bit about your pastoral journey, where you are now, and what you do at Spanish Trail.
Yeah. So I started ministry several years ago now. Every gray hair, I feel like, adds up into the years of ministry I've been in.
It's a crown.
We started kind of in part-time ministry as a young married couple, no kids kind of thing, and just fell in love with it and ended up going to seminary and landing back here in Pensacola. Landed here at Hillcrest in December of 2014.
Wow.
I started the week before Christmas, which is a bad week to start things at Hillcrest because everybody's on vacation.
Right.
And I didn't know kind of the systems of Hillcrest, so I remember when I showed up that week, I think there were 2 people in the office. I was wearing like slacks and a button down. I might even have had a tie on.
As you should.
And I got here and I was like, is the office open, first of all? And second of all, I don't think I'm supposed to dress like this during the week. So started here at the 9 Mile campus doing adult discipleship and college ministry in 2014, and then moved over to lead the Spanish Trail campus in December of 2017.
Wow.
So I've been there ever since,
That's
Love
cool.
it.
So as campus pastor, we use kind of that phrase, but define your role there. What do you do as campus pastor at Spanish Trail?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I basically lead that campus. So Jim's our senior pastor. He leads Hillcrest and is the primary preaching voice here at the 9 Mile campus. Mm-hmm. And then I provide oversight, leadership, and pastoral care for the campus as a whole. I'm the primary preaching voice there. Some of my responsibilities at Spanish Trail also include oversight over the family ministries, working with Amy and Derek and Sarah over there, leading the family ministries. And so I got a great team that I work with over there. And I'm kind of basically providing overall leadership and the preaching week to week. But we got a great preaching team as well. So.
Yeah, and when you preach at Spanish Trail, it's the same content at 9 Mile, not necessarily the same words, but you're covering the same passage of Scripture. So
basically the way we like to say that is, we're preaching the same text and same general outline. Mm-hmm. So if you listen to one sermon at the sermon at Spanish Trail, sermon at 9 Mile, you're going to get the same biblical truth. Mm-hmm. You might get it just contextually delivered in a different way. My voice is different than Jim's voice. I'm familiar with the context of the people at our congregation. And so I might use an illustration that hits home differently with them than Jim would use here. Jim is like the great Southern Baptist preacher, right. And so he can use illustrations and things that just hit differently than I do. And so, it's the same biblical truths with a different voice delivered to a different congregation. Of people gathered for the same reasons. The goal is to take away the same biblical truths just for them to be delivered in a personal way.
Is that difficult sometimes to work with another preacher to preach the same text? Yeah,
that's a great question too. So I think early on it was a lot more challenging. So we've been preaching live at both campuses since October of 2020. Okay. We came out of COVID. We were video fed for the first 6-7 years or whatever it was. And so we came out of COVID where everything was video, and everybody was like, well, we don't want to do that anymore. And it was time. It was time.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, early on, it was a challenge, I think, more so maybe for Jim than me. It was a challenge for me, I think, just that I had not preached every single week in my roles as a pastor up until that point. And so just adjusting my time and all of that. To be able to prepare a sermon. And so Jim kind of cast the vision. He gives the scope and sequence for the sermon series that we do. Right now we're scoping sequence out through next year. Yeah. And so we worked really hard together to kind of get to a place where he's setting the tone, and then I'm coming alongside, and we're getting our voices together around those things. In the early days, we met every single Tuesday.
Right.
we'd have chapel, and then me and him got in a room together for a couple hours, and he's like, here's where I think this is going. Here's the outline. Let's talk through it. And we did that for probably the first 2 years. But we don't do that as much anymore, just because he knows like the questions I'm going to ask already, and so he gives me that information up front, or I know when he says this where he's getting that from, and so we have to do a lot less in the trenches work together to get there. But yeah, it's still a challenge. We're preaching the same message with a different voice to a different audience, and so there are challenges that come with that. But man, Pastor Jim leads so well in that way, and we've been doing it together now for 6 years. And so
which is wild when you say that.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
It's gone so fast. And I remember when you moved to Spanish Trail to lead there, and just how that transition went. And so it's pretty. You say it's been 6 years is wild.
Yeah, well, that's just been how long we've been preaching live.
Right.
I mean,
right.
it's been we're in our 10th year. I'm in my 10th year at Spanish Trail.
Yeah, and the campus celebrated 10 years under Hillcrest
in 2014
last year,
or 2024. Excuse me.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Wow,
August 2024.
Man, it's go so fast. That's wild, dude.
10 years, yeah. So we're in our 12th year as a campus, and God's just been good and faithful, and man, it's just really encouraging.
That's good. Now, you personally, if you don't mind me digging a little bit, you, if I remember, came to faith a little bit later in life. You didn't necessarily grow up as a young child in a Christian home. You had this moment. Can you share a little bit of your testimony?
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to. So, I grew up in an awesome house, man. My parents loved me. They loved each other. They've been married for like 100 years or something like that. So I grew up in a very loving family. I would say we grew up in a house that would say we were Christians, but just God wasn't a part of it. You know, we were Christian because we believed in God. We believed that He was at work, but it wasn't, we weren't regularly in church. Not anti-God or anything like that. And so I grew up with a place for God in my life, but not even close to a priority. So when I was in college, I started playing church softball with my brother at this church over in Mobile when I was going to South Alabama. And, fell in love with those guys that I was playing with, and ended up at a good old Southern Baptist revival on a Tuesday night at a church in Theodore, Alabama, Tillman's Corner, Alabama. And didn't know what that was. I was mad that I was there. My brother had invited me to go out to dinner for free because I was, a college student. Of course, let's go and let's swing by the church on the way home.
Right.
And I heard the gospel, was challenged with just thinking about eternity in a way that I'd never been challenged to think about it. Just what am I living my life in a way now that matters for eternity? And the short answer was no. And that really messed me up. It really challenged me to think about how I had spent those 21 years of my life up until that point, and how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. And the Holy Spirit just, wrecked me over it. And that night, had a fun conversation. It wasn't a fun conversation. I was sitting in my driveway just crying my eyes out because I just didn't know what was going on. Just had no context for what God was doing at the time. But what He was doing was just drawing me to Himself. And my brother just presented the gospel to me very plainly, and accepted Christ. Woke up a changed man, but also a confused man. I'd spent 21 years of my life living for myself and for short-term things, so what do I do next? And so, but I'm grateful for it. Grateful for the journey. I have regrets of like, man, I just wish, I wish I would have known Jesus sooner. But at the same time, the Lord uses that even now in my ministry, in my life, and to come alongside people that are walking that same journey, where they've grown up around a Christian context but don't love Jesus personally. And so God redeems those things.
If you could tell that Dan, hey, one day you're going to be standing up preaching the gospel, winning souls for Jesus,
Look,
what would that Dan
I am
say?
that Dan, and I can't believe it still. But it would be, that Dan wouldn't believe you, first of all. I remember we came back for our 10-year anniversary, our 10-year school reunion, our high school reunion, and we were in seminary at the time. Rachel's pregnant with Tucker, coming to our high school reunion. Hey, what are you guys doing now? We're up in North Carolina in seminary. They're like, whoa, what? Dan, who? Can I see your identification? Because, needless to say, the Dan in high school had zero interest in God or pursuing things of God. And so, yeah, I think I would say the same thing that I think I've said to a lot of other guys that I've seen me in as teenagers and college students. There's just so much more to life to live for, than what I was living for. There's just so much more joy, so much more excitement, so much more hope to live for than the things that I was pursuing at that age. And so I would, you can't do this, but if I could go back and say something to me at that age, it would be to, keep your eyes up. Look for something greater than what you're looking for right now. Yeah. And I think the hard part about that is I think I would have listened.
Yeah.
I just don't think, I don't think I put myself in situations to hear that from people. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a lot of what God used to draw me into ministry is that, if somebody would have said the things that I eventually heard as a 21-year-old, if they would have said to me at 15, I think I would have listened the same way I did as a 21-year-old. And so I want to be that person. I want to be the person that says to the 15-year-old Dan, man, there's so much more to life to live for. Yeah. And so, I think God used that to draw me to work with students early on in ministry and even now want to make a difference in people's life so they don't have regrets like I do where, man, I wish I'd have known Jesus 5 and 6 and 10 years ago,
What more could I have done?
Yeah.
That's good. True or false?
Okay.
Your name Dan is short for Daniel.
That is a false statement.
Whoa.
Just plain old Dan.
Just plain old Dan.
Yeah.
On your birth certificate and everything. You're just Dan.
Just plain old Dan, yeah. We can thank my grandfather for that. My mom's dad, just Dan.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Dan Phillip.
Dan
For
Phillip.
those who would like to know.
Okay.
Yep.
True or false?
Yeah.
You and your wife share something very unique that I would say most married couples do not share.
That is a true statement.
Do you want to tell us what it is?
It's not our toothbrushes.
It's not your toothbrushes, although we've talked about that on mission trips. We have had that conversation. Is it okay for married couples to share toothbrushes or towels?
No, you could possibly share towels in emergency circumstances, but not a toothbrush ever, unless you boil it.
Not even an emergency.
And I know you kiss and all that stuff.
Well, we're not. Okay.
Germs, whatever.
This is a PG podcast, so we're not going deep, man. But
you should not share toothbrushes, but we share a birthday.
You and your wife share a birthday,
we do.
But not just the birth date.
Correct.
You share the same birth year also.
Same exact.
You were born on the same day.
Yeah, according to our birth certificates, an hour apart, and we're not related.
When did you find this out?
In high school. Yeah, we met in high school. We were freshmen in high school in Daphne, Alabama, and I don't remember how. That's what's funny is I don't remember like the moment we found it out, but we found it out pretty early.
Okay,
because it's kind of the thing that obviously kind of kept us connected over the years.
And in high school, it's not as big of a deal.
No, it was cool. It's like, no, wow, no way.
You're the same age, so it kind of makes sense. But now that you've gone on through life, because we talk about this just about every year. It comes up. It's something that we know, right? But then you say it, it's like, oh, that's right. They share the same exact birth date. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty wild. It's so fun. And God really, truly did use it because as we got older into college, and even going our separate ways, we would call or text or we'd grab lunch on our birthday, and so God really used it to kind of keep us connected in a unique way that we weren't otherwise. And so it's pretty cool. It's caused some problems over the years. Right. We went to get our marriage license. We get a call from the clerk downtown. Hey, sorry, you're gonna have to come back down here. You wrote the same birthday for both of you guys. We know.
We know.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but a few challenges along the way.
Cool. Well, appreciate you. It's been a joy, our friendship building over the years, and I admire you, your family, and the way that you guys do life together. You do it very well. You set a great example, so I appreciate you.
Thank you,
what you guys bring. As you are a fan of the podcast, we like to start everyone with a little trivia quiz.
Oh boy,
we do with Pastor Jim.
I'm excited.
These are just basic Bible questions.
Oh boy.
Like this one. When Saul was pursuing David, in which cave did David seek refuge?
Yeah,
What's the name of that?
It was the big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the name in 1 Samuel 22?
Well, in Greek, you would say it as Akave.
Okay. Yeah. Let me ask you a different one.
Yeah.
Who was the chief of the 3 mighty men of David?
The chief?
Yeah, the chief. What was his name?
I think it was Chief Baldwin.
No,
not that one.
It's 2 Samuel as well. This is Joseb Basshebeth. You
Okay,
remember that,
yeah, that's right. Bathsheba, not Baldwin. It was
No.
Bathsheba.
In the cave of Adullam.
Adullam.
Adullam, if you would say it,
Yeah.
more in Hebrew.
That's what
I'm
I
picking.
meant
We
to
don't
say.
do trivia questions here. I just wanted to put you on the spot. Trying to make you uncomfortable.
I barely slept last night.
I didn't know the answer.
Thinking about this.
I know, you're so stressed. No, we're good. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk sermon for a second.
Yeah.
So we've been preaching through the 7 churches of Revelation, Revelation 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And again, you guys are on the same trajectory as far as the preaching
Right.
goes. So this week was the church in Sardines. So
Correct. They are called the Sardians.
Sardinian.
Yeah, right.
Sardinian. No,
Yeah,
it's
the church in Sardis. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a general question, because we were kind of chatting about this before we began recording, but the churches that you get,
Yeah.
and we've gone through, and there's an commendation, there's a criticism from the
Yeah.
Lord, there's
Yeah.
titles of Jesus that we see,
Yeah.
There's a promise to the overcomer. There's a lot in each church. So how do you distill that into one solid message
Yeah.
for one church and one morning?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of been a challenge, honestly. I mean, I think it's always a challenge. I think the hardest part of preaching is the cutting process.
Yeah.
And so I think that's all obviously a challenge here. And so I think, again, Pastor Jim's leadership, he's a pro at this. And so he helps in a huge way. But I think that the thing we're trying to do is there are a dozen or 20 different biblical truths, biblical principles that we could draw out of each one of these messages to these churches, and do that over the course of 6 or 8 weeks for each one. But I think what we're trying to do now is draw out the main truth or two that we can take from what Jesus is viewing from this church, seeing in this church. How do we take that and apply that to our church? And so, you go through that and see what is the main point of this text, or what are the main couple of points of this text, and try to draw that out. I mean, this week was challenging. I mean, there are a couple main things that float to the top, I think, but man, there's so many weeds and so many trails you want to follow. Maybe we'll get into in a few minutes. But I think you're just trying to say, who are the people sitting in the room going to hear this, and what do they need to hear from what Jesus is saying to this church in Sardis?
Right.
And how do we say that succinctly and in ways that we can practically apply, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, then, how do you make it applicable to your church? Because, and this one, for the example, this is, again, we're in Revelation chapter 3.
Yeah.
And so just as an example, this is Jesus talking to the church. And he basically gives them some pretty stern words. In verse 2, he says, "Wake up, strengthen what remains." Verse 3, "Remember, keep it, repent." Like this is a very practical, do these things now. It's almost a warning.
Yeah, it is.
But I read that, and a part of me says, oh, man, that church, whew, I kind of feel bad for them getting these stern words from Jesus. Whew, well, I wonder what's for lunch today. I mean, how do you make me wake up, repent, strengthen myself? How do you challenge me to do these things in a practical sense, so I don't think, well, this was for a church that was 2,000 years ago?
Yeah. I think that is the key thing, right? I think because at the end of the day, us knowing what was right or wrong about churches that existed 2,000 years ago intellectually, or that really doesn't help us at all. I mean, it maybe helps you be a little smarter about what the church was like back then, but we want us to be able to understand that the Bible was written for us now. I mean, it is written so that we can see how God and his church interact with each other, how Jesus sees the church. Because here's the truth. People see churches differently than Jesus does most of the time, right? People evaluate. And that's what these messages are, really. It's Jesus' evaluation of these churches. And so part of the way we do that is to help people see that Jesus does evaluate the church. Jesus does look at the church and see how are they fulfilling the mission. I mean, it says there in that verse that you just talked about that I've found that have not found your works complete in the sight of my God. Well, that's a little bit interesting because he says early on, you have a reputation that you're alive. And so it's not that this church wasn't doing stuff. They were active. They had a lot going on. They had a reputation from the outside, right? But he says your works aren't complete. They're not complete because they're not being done for the right reason. The heart behind it, they had lost sight of. And so it's helping people see that we're just as capable of falling into that, drifting into that as well, of just being busy doing things. And so, yeah, I think that's what you're trying to do is take this call where Jesus says to this church, wake up and talk about what does that mean for me and you. Maybe we've been lulled to sleep by the calling of these cultures, by our own sinful heart. Mm-hmm. Maybe we've been lulled to sleep because we're comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we may get into this, but so I'll just scratch the surface. But this would have landed on this church in a unique way because historically, what we know about this city called Sardis is it was founded, it was built on this basically like this mountainside and kind of on the edge of this plateau. And so it was an elevated city. And so it kind of had some natural fortification. And so it was known not only as a very important city in the area, but it was known by its enemies as basically impenetrable. And it was essentially the safest city in the area because it had these natural cliff sides and it just seemed daunting. And so what that led the city to be is they became comfortable. And what we know from historians is somewhere around 500 BC, 512, 514, the Parisian army, there's a story told, trust the sources on this, but they seem like trustworthy sources. Yeah, no, it's not Wikipedia. Historians tell us that the Persian army came to invade this city, and they were at the base of this hill, and they saw one of the Sardian guards, not sardines, drop his helmet over the wall side, and it fell down the cliff. Well, as they watched this guard take this secret path down this cliffside that was easy to walk up and down. Walked down the hill, came back up. Well, that night, these Parisian warrior guys made their way back up this path and infiltrated the city at night. And they got up to the top of the hill waiting to find a bunch of guards waiting on them, and everybody was asleep.
Wow.
The whole city was asleep, and the Persian army took over the city. They conquered the city. And if that's not crazy enough, it happened again not too much longer. They were in the same way. Army snuck up this secret path. They got to the top in the middle of the night. The guards are asleep. The city's asleep. The city was overrun. And so Jesus is saying to this church in this city that has now been overthrown 2 times because their watchmen had fallen asleep. He says, wake up. Wake up. And so the people of this city would hear that and go, we know what that means. And so I think that, to me, helps us understand this is an urgent call.
Yeah.
This is an urgent, wake up, you're about to be, and I think that's the call that I want our people to hear. Is this isn't just like a, hey, you nodded off, watch out. You remember, he just said, you're dead.
Yeah.
That's how he introduced this message to them. You have a reputation of being alive, but you're actually dead. Wake up before it's too late. And so I think we can wake up and see that, whatever the situation of your personal life might be, that you've wandered off and are chasing things that don't matter, like I was when I was 21 years old. Or wake up, your priorities aren't what they should be, or whatever it might be. Wake up, you don't actually even know Jesus. And so it's an urgent call, but it's also a gracious call.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when you were just saying that, I was realizing too, like, I know I do it personally, but I read, hey, wake up. And, strengthening what remains. Like, we read it in a sentence structure. We read it as a wake up. But if you're trying to wake up someone, now if you're waking up a child who is, going to be on time for school and just have her mind, you're going to be loving and gentle and say, wake up, darling, time to get up for school.
Yeah.
But if they're half an hour late, or if they're going to miss something, or if there's a fire in the house, you're saying wake up a whole lot differently. You're almost shouting at the urgency with which you're doing that. Yeah. And I think we have to be careful. I have to be careful with Scripture when we read that, because it could just be, hey, wake up and strengthen yourselves and be prepared.
Yeah.
And like you said, I just called you dead. Jesus just called you dead. Maybe he's not just saying wake up gently. Maybe he's shouting to them, wake up. This is the urgency. And that's a good word. So it's the context, I think, does help.
It's huge.
Like you said, when you say that they would have known this, they would have heard it that way.
Yeah, this is not the first time they've heard someone tell them wake up in an urgent setting. Unfortunately, a lot of these people probably got woken up by the enemy.
Yeah,
as their city was being overrun. Wow. And so it's the same. Those people hear Jesus saying, wake up, with the same amount of urgency.
Wow.
Yeah, that your work's not complete. Yeah.
Gosh. And this is more for eternal impacts, too, than a temporary,
yeah.
Not that it was an okay thing to be overrun by another army, but like this is eternal impacts.
That's right.
What he's saying. Now, we talked a little bit, too, before that there's not a lot of good here.
Yeah.
But there's a little good.
That's right.
There's a little good. Talk about what Jesus does kind of say. You're not all hopeless, but
right.
give me a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah, it's bad news up front, for sure. And then that's not always the case in these messages. Yeah. There are times where he's writing and saying, hey, look, I see this and I see that and I see these things. I also have this against you.
Yeah.
But they were good commendations. They were good things to say. And there's not a lot here. The only commendation really is, there are a few among you left that have not been overcome by the.
What's the phrase, Dan? We can say it. We're among friends. What's the phrase that Jesus uses?
Let me read it just so the Bible says it and not me. Yet you have still a few names in Sardis, people who have not soiled their garments, and they will walk with me in white, for they are worthy.
Now that's a Greek term, and does that mean that you're in the dirt and your clothes have gotten dirty?
Yeah, I think it's an imagery thing.
Okay.
Jesus, you thankfully, you hear someone soiling their garments, and your mind immediately goes to some things, or my mind does at least. But no, it's an imagery thing. Historically, the white garments. The garments are an indication of righteousness or unrighteousness.
Okay. Okay.
And so when someone say they've soiled their garments, it means that they have allowed the culture and the temptations to compromise. They've allowed those outside influences, whether they're outside the church or inside the church, to soil their garments, spiritual garments.
Gotcha.
That's what they mean there. That's what Jesus is talking about there. That they've allowed what has happened to the rest of the church in Sardis. These few haven't allowed the influence of the culture, and even those within the church that are allowing compromise and are forgetting the things that they've been giving. They haven't allowed that to soil their garments, spiritually speaking. And so then Jesus says they're going to walk with me in white.
In white, which would be through righteousness.
Exactly.
As you overcome and do that.
That's exactly right.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw you a curveball, make you speculate a little bit.
Okay.
So
this is my favorite thing to do.
I know you're happy about this because you don't know what's coming.
Yes.
And I've talked with Pastor Jim a little bit about this, but these 7 churches that were chosen by Jesus, these were actual churches, physical churches. We know that. We've covered that. So here's the curveball. Yeah. What do you think the other churches that existed in that area around this time are thinking when they don't get a letter from Jesus? And I know we don't have any really way to know that, but what do you think those churches are feeling? Like, are they encouraged that they didn't get one? Are they? Do they want one? Like, what about us? So
we dodged a bullet.
What do you think they were feeling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know because the Bible doesn't tell us, but I have to imagine, maybe they feel a little bit like we do, right? We have not gotten one of these letters, but you think, but we have in some ways.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you have to think they would be thinking, whatever or not they were thinking, well, we're glad we got one, or glad we didn't get one, or sad we didn't get one. They were probably thinking, we better pay attention. Mm-hmm. I think what they thought was, Jesus sees. Mm-hmm. Now, he hasn't said anything to us, but he sees these other 7 churches, which probably means he sees us too. And so I think they've got to, at some level, when once they get over their hurt feelings about not getting a letter or getting a letter, I think they have to go, we are following a God. We believe in a God. We're putting ourselves in a position under authority of someone who sees us. They're not some far off distant God. Mm-hmm. And so, I think they're listening up.
Especially in that time, because this is a church down the road. This is the church that over there that...
Yeah, it's just around, a few miles away or whatever.
They're doing it, and that's right. They are doing this, right? I can see that. That's like the wake-up call to them.
Exactly.
Too.
They're going to recognize the things that Jesus was saying about that church. Mm-hmm. They're going to say, wow, Jesus is right. That church that church does look alive on the outside, but I know some of the people in that, and they're dead. Like,
Wow.
Or this church, yeah, they are doing these things, but they're not doing it for loving reasons or whatever. And so, yeah, they're gonna, in a way that we really can't, they're gonna see this is absolutely true, and what Jesus sees is accurate. And so, yeah, if I'm in those shoes, I'm going, I don't know if I'm glad or sad I got one of these letters, but
maybe it's better we didn't.
Yeah,
right.
I'm listening.
Right.
Yes, Lord, I got you.
Amen. Dan, what's the most difficult part of being a pastor?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, it's a hard question in some ways because there are seasonally difficult things about pastoring. But it's also a hard question because I love being a pastor. I love, working with people. I love helping people. I love trying to be the guy that I needed when I was a 15-year-old. And so, I think the hardest thing for me is the weight. It's just the weight of it.
The heaviness of it.
The heaviness of it, okay. Yeah. And I don't mean like because everything's bad. Like, of course, walking through a hard thing with a family is weighty, right? You walk through the death of a child or a job, some sort of critical thing is obviously emotionally weighty. But I just mean, the things I say from the Bible on the stage on Sunday, they are eternal. Yeah. They matter eternally. Yeah. And even things I sit here on this podcast and say are the things that the ways in which I lead my family and sit down across the table drinking a cup of coffee with somebody. I think it just the weight of that probably is the most difficult thing to me. The Lord gives you what you need to bear that weight, and God's gracious in those things, and God's people are gracious with me. Thank the Lord. I don't do it right a lot, and so people have been very kind to me over the years in that regard. But yeah, it's the Bible says very plainly that we're going to answer for the people that we're responsible for,
a higher standard,
and how we shepherd them. And so, as far as difficult parts of pastoring, it's not difficult it's hard to do. Yeah, it's hard because it's eternal. Yeah, it's waiting.
That's good. And then what's the best thing about it?
Yeah, the things I get to do is eternal.
Everything. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a setup. But it
truly is. Yeah. And I love people, man. I just, the fact that I get to do something that supports my family, that allows me just to be with people all the time, will forever be one of the greatest blessings that God's ever given me. And so I just love working with people. That's the best part, I think, is just working with people, even when it's hard. I just love coming alongside God's people and those who aren't God's people that desire to follow Him. But yeah, I think the best part of working with people, because I can go work with people anywhere doing sales or whatever. Sure. The best part of working with the people that I love is that the things that we're doing matter for eternity. Yeah, I think it's the hardest part, and it's the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think I could do something today that changes someone's eternity. And by no act of my own, but God would choose to use me to do that is priceless, man. That's awesome. Yeah. That's cool. So it's a weight I carry heavily, but a weight I carry with just tremendous gratitude. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. All right, you get one meal. What is it? Where's it from?
That's the hardest question you've asked so far.
That's why I'm wrapping up.
So I eat this over and over again. It's like it's one meal. We eat it once. That's done.
One meal, but it's the one you want to choose. It's the one you want, and you can get it from anywhere. You can get it, but this is your meal. What's the meal?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go. Does it have to be from a restaurant, or am I cooking it?
Or just cook it.
Just a kind of meal.
The meal.
This is hard. Can I pick two things? I love steak. So it would probably be some sort of steak meal, probably.
Okay.
I also am an avid fisherman and love fish. And so That's why I have a hard time. I'm going to choose a surf and turf meal.
That's there you go.
Yeah, I'm going to have steak and some red snapper.
Okay. That you caught.
Yes, that I caught.
Beautiful.
With Gary Cook last weekend.
Shout out.
We didn't catch it last weekend, but freshly caught red snapper, a delicious grilled ribeye. That's the only kind of steak you should eat. Ribeye steaks. And with some sort of delicious vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it would have meals without meat are not meals.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Bold statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like soups without some sort of protein in it, some sort of meat, There's nothing against the vegetarians out there. I love you guys.
A little bit.
It's not against them.
Okay, no.
It's just against the food they choose to eat as sustenance.
Okay.
Yeah. But steak and fish.
Okay. Well said.
Yeah.
Dan, thanks for coming in and filling in this week. We appreciate you and your
been
time.
A blast.
I appreciate you as a friend, as a mentor. I've watched you grow and mature, and you've helped me grow and mature in this role. So I'm grateful for that. What you allow us to share. We sometimes ask hard questions and we sometimes say hard things, but I'm grateful for that and for you and again for your family. So thank you, man.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate you.
It's been a blessing and the feeling's mutual, bro. It's been fun to grow up together. I'm spiritually.
Yeah.
And work-wise,
yeah, for sure.
I'll never forget the
no, it's not
image,
there.
the night
we gotta
of
wrap it up.
No, I'm telling it. The clock says we still have 2 minutes.
All right, go quickly.
I was here speaking at Image before I worked at Hillcrest. Mm-hmm. I was pastoring here in town, speaking here at Image. Carmack comes running up to me. I don't think we met one time before that, like at Starbucks or something with David. Carmack comes running up to me and just on fire about what the Lord's doing. And he wants to go in ministry. and I just remember walking away from that conversation thinking, that dude loves Jesus, first of all. He's a little crazy. But he's going to do something awesome for the Lord eventually, and I can't wait to see it. And man, it's so cool. That was it almost 15 years ago? It had to be 12, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's really
I remember
fun.
that. Because at the time you were, and no one knew this, you were speaking at Image, but you were in conversations about coming on staff.
That's exactly right.
I didn't know that about you. I was genuinely feeling that call, and that was me wrestling with God speaking to me and saying, I need you in ministry.
Yeah.
And me going, wow, how do I do this thing? Because I came late in life to the ministry. And so I was talking to everybody I knew who I could be like, hey, help me with this thing that I've got that's on fire in me.
Yeah.
But you being there and again, not knowing your situation, but just kind of dumping that on you. And then I realized later, I went back and told you, like, I didn't even ask you about you at all.
Yeah.
You were just another pastor voice I wanted to talk to, like, help me.
Yeah.
But I am great. What I do remember, you were gracious to listen to me.
Yeah.
In that setting. You didn't come back and say, well, here's what I've got going. You were like, man, that's awesome. And you were encouraging to me in that moment, even though I was being a little selfish and just kind of telling you what I had going on.
It was great. It would encourage me, man. It really did. It was just like, dude, that guy, he's fired up about Jesus. And it was fun. It was exciting. I don't even think you came up and it was no niceties.
There wasn't.
Hey, Dan, you remember me? I'm Jim. It was like,
I was a
boom.
mess. I was a mess, dude. I was just...
It was great though, because you were...
The faucet was on and everything was just coming out. So
your passion was contagious, man. It was good.
Again, I appreciate your graciousness.
And it's cool to see now.
Yeah, it really is.
It's cool to see how God's faithfully did what he was calling you to do.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
As a reminder, with Hillcrest, we have 2 locations. We've got 9 Mile, we've got Spanish Trail. The congregations look a little different, but the subject is the same. The heart is the same. The people are the same. We love each other. We love the Lord. And so you are welcome to join us. If you haven't before, please come see us in person here in Pensacola. You can watch us also online at the 9 Mile location. But, we have opportunities, ways to get you the messages. So feel free to reach out to us here at 9 Mile, Dan at Spanish Trail. We want to get you connected. We want to get you in love with Jesus. That's our goal. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Hey, brother.
Thanks for being a part of the locker room. See you next time. God bless you.